Your Honor, this crime is the most fiendish, cold-blooded, inexcusable case the world has ever known. That's what Mr. Horn has just told this court. Your Honor, I've been practicing law now, a great deal longer than I ought to have. Defending now some 46 years. And in all that time, I've never once tried a case where the state's attorneys have not claimed that it is the most cold-blooded, inexcusable case ever. Certainly, there's no excuse for the killing of little Polly Kessler. And there's no reason for it. It wasn't for spite, or hate, or for money. The great misfortune of this case, Your Honor, is money. If you should doom these boys to die, it will be because their parents are rich. Now, I need not mention I would fight just as hard for the poor as I will for the rich. Had I walked into this room alone with two ordinary, obscure defendants who had done what these boys have done, without all this weirdness, notoriety, and all of this sensational publicity, and I said, Your Honor, we would like to gather a plea of guilty and that you sentence these boys to a life of imprisonment, do you think that the state's attorneys would have raised their voices in protest? Never in Chicago, on a plea of guilty, has a boy under 21 years of age ever been sentenced to death. Not one. And yet, in the case of these two immature boys of diseased minds, as plain as day, they say you can only get justice by shedding their last drop of blood. Isn't a lifetime behind prison bars punishment enough for this mad act? And does this great public need to be regaled with a hanging? For the last 3 weeks, I've heard nothing but the cry for blood in this room. I've heard nothing from the offices of the state's attorneys but ugly hatred. For God's sakes, have we gone mad? If we hang these boys, it'll mean that in this land of ours, a court of law could not help but bow down to public opinion in as cruel of a speech as he possibly could have made. The state's attorneys told this court that we were pleading guilty because we were afraid to do anything else. Yes, that is true. So I am afraid to submit this case to a jury where the responsibilities will be divided by 12. No. Your Honor, if these boys must hang, you must do it. It must be your own deliberate, cool, premeditated act. The state's attorneys laughed at me for talking about children's fantasies. What does he know about childhood? What do I know? Is there any one of us who hasn't been guilty of some kind of delinquency in our youth? How many men are here today? Lawyers, judges, congressmen, and state's attorneys who haven't been guilty of some kind of wild act in our youth. And if the consequences didn't add up to much and we didn't get caught, well, that was our own good luck. But this is something different. This is the mad act of two sick boys who belong in a psychopathic hospital. Do I need to argue it? Is there any man with a decent regard for human life and the slightest bit of heart who doesn't understand this? We're told that it was cold-blooded because they planned and schemed. Yes, and for months now to watch the offices of the state's attorneys who for months have planned and schemed and contrived to take these boys' lives. Talk about your scheming. Your Honor, I've become obsessed with this great feeling of hatred and anger. I've been battling it and fighting it till it's nearly driven me mad. And what about this matter of crime and punishment anyway? Through the centuries, our laws have been modified. And until now, men look back with horror the hangings and the killings of the past. It's been proven that if the consequences are less barbarous, that the crimes are less frequent. Do I need to argue with your honor then that cruelty only breeds cruelty? That every religious leader that's ever been held up as an example has tried to teach us that if there's any way of killing evil, it's not by killing man. And if there's any way of destroying hatred and all that goes with it, it's not through evil and hatred and cruelty. It's through charity, love, and understanding. This is a Christian community, so-called. Is there any doubt that these boys would be safe in the hands of the founder of the Christian faith? Anybody that knows me knows how sorry I am for little Polly Kessler. And knows I'm not just saying this simply to
Number
talk.
25.
Artie and Judd enticed him into the car that night. When he began to struggle, they hit him over the head and they killed him. They poured acid on his body to hide his identity, and they put his naked body in the ditch. And if killing these boys could bring him back to life, I'd say let him go. I think their parents would say so too. Neither they nor I want them released into society. We're asking this court to pen them into a prison for life. Any cry for more goes back to the hyena. It goes back to the beasts of the jungle. There's no place for man. This court is told to give them the same mercy that they gave their victim. Your Honor, if our state is not more kinder, more human, more compassionate, more intelligent than the mad act of these two sick boys, well then I'm sorry I've lived so long. I know that any mother can be the mother of little Polly Kessler, who got up and went off to school one day and never came home. But I also know that any mother can be the mother of Artie Strauss, Judd Steiner. Maybe these parents could be held more accountable. Maybe the truth is that all parents could be held more accountable, and that these could have done better had they had so much money. I don't know. The state has pictured the putting of the naked body in the ditch. But I can only think now of taking these two boys, 18, 19, and penning them in a cell and having them count down the days, hours, minutes, until early in the gray of the morning they're led to the scaffold. Their feet tied, black caps put over their head, they're stood on a trap. I can see the hangman pulling the spring, I can see them falling through space, and I can see them stopped. By the rope around their neck. And it would be done. In the name of justice. Justice. Who knows what it is? Do I know? Does your honor know? Can your honor tell me what I deserve? Can your honor appraise yourself and say what you deserve? Do you think that you can cure the hatreds and the maladjustments of the world by hanging them? Mr. Horn says that if you hang Artie and Judd, that there'll be no more killing. This world has been one big slaughterhouse from the beginning until today. And the killing goes on and on and on. Why not read something? Why not think before blindly shouting for death? Kill them because everybody's talking about the case. Kill them because their parents have money? Kill them? Will that stop other boys from killing? No. It's taken this world a long, long time to get where it is today. Your Honor, if you hang these boys, you turn your back on the past. I'm pleading for the future. Not merely for these two boys, for all boys, for all the young, not merely for these 2 lives, but for life itself. For a time that we can overcome hatred with love. For a time that we can learn that all life is worth preserving and that mercy is the greatest attribute of man. Yes, I'm pleading for the future, but in this court, I'm pleading for love.